Hello and welcome to Pedro's Movie Cabin. My name is Pedro and this is Pedro's desk. I haven't been on YouTube for about 2 months. I posted a video about action movies and a quick look at my new entertainment setup, but an actual content video with me in front of the camera, I haven't done for about 2 months. I haven't really been buying any physical media, and I haven't really had the drive to post anything. Now, the reason I'm posting this video today is because while I haven't been recording YouTube videos, I have been on YouTube. I've been lurking in the corners, watching videos from the people I'm subscribed to in the same sort of community, like Sammy and Roy and Stuart and Ollie. And there's been a really interesting few tag videos that I've been watching. One of them was the top 10 films of the 21st century, which I did do a list on Letterboxd, and I thought about doing a response video to that, but I just couldn't really be bothered with that one. However, there's a new tag going around. I haven't been tagged because obviously I haven't been on YouTube, but it's something I kind of really like the idea of doing, and it's your top 10 movies of the 1990s. Now, I've seen a few videos from a few different YouTubers covering the movies that they like from the 90s. So I thought I'd do one better. Not really. It's I couldn't choose 10 movies from the 90s. I was a teenager during the 90s where I managed to see a lot of 90s movies, and therefore they are the kind of movies that I gravitate to when I want to watch a film. That and the 1980s. So when I was a teenager, I spent the majority of my spare time at the theatre or at the cinema watching some great movies. And so I really struggled to narrow down 10 of my favourite movies from the 90s. Again, I listed them on Letterboxd. You can follow me on Letterboxd. Have a look at the lists that I've done, see the films that I have been watching. I've been watching a fair few since I've not been recording content. However, like I said, I really struggled to narrow down 10 movies. So I ended up making a list of my 30 favourite 90s movies. They're not all going to be in this video. Don't worry, this video would end up being about 4.5 hours long. Hopefully I can do this fairly quickly and not have you hang around for a very long time. So this is probably going to be 2 parts. So this is the first part. This is the first 15 movies from the 90s that I absolutely adore. Bear in mind, it's not an official countdown. Obviously, I'm not an official person. I live in a flat. Therefore, I don't have the authority to say that these are official rankings. These aren't even rankings. These are just 15 movies that I love from the 1990s, part 1. There will be another part with the remaining 15 movies, and it was very difficult to nail them down to what they were. As we all know, film is subjective. Everybody has their favourites. Everybody has films that they hate, that they love, that they admire, or ones that they just think are just pure trash. My selection of 30 movies is going to differ from other people's. There may be some overlap. I know there's a couple of films I've got in here that do overlap with Roy and Ollie, their film choices. But a lot of these are films that mean quite a lot to me because of when I saw them and the impact that they had on me as a teenager in the 1990s. So the first one, this was on Ollie's. I think this was on Ollie's. Yes, this was on Ollie's top 90s picks. And it's Wes Craven's 1996 slasher revival movie, Scream. This was essentially my first introduction to the slasher genre. even though it was sort of a what they call it, a meta slasher. It broke the fourth, well, sort of broke the fourth wall, but it was a no, I can't remember the word for it, but it kind of acknowledged the movies that came before it by making reference to it, which I thought was a very, very clever way of reintroducing the slasher genre to a modern audience who probably grew up on films like Friday the 13th and Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, those type of films. This sort of kind of reintroduces them to a new audience by using them as references. And yeah, Scream does it absolutely brilliantly. And the best thing about this film is that it keeps you guessing. I mean, on subsequent watches, you obviously you know the twist, that you know that who the killers are from the start on a second watch because you've already seen it. However, when I watched this for the first time, it was me and my sister. It was 1998. We watched it on video, and we were second guessing ourselves throughout the entire movie who the killers were going to be, until obviously the reveal at the end of who the actual killers are. Now, I'm not going to say who the killers are because if you haven't watched Scream, it'll ruin it for you. But if you haven't and you've been living under a rock for the last 30 years, fuck me, that's 30 years. So this is 30 years old. Scream is 30 years old. That's mad. So yeah, we were second guessing ourselves throughout the entire movie, trying to work out who the killer was. And there was no other film that had done that for me prior to Scream. And I just think it's a really, really clever, well-written, brilliantly directed. It's essentially a B-movie. When you think about it, like, horror movies tend to be classed as B-movies. It's a genre film. But yeah, Scream was just an eye-opener for me when I was a teenager. It was like 13, 14, something like that. And yeah, I'd never seen anything like this before. This got me into like the slasher genre, which then I was able to see things like Urban Legend and Valentine and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Those movies then introduced me to Halloween and Friday the 13th, the Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, those like staples of horror cinema now. And yeah, Scream was just top tier. Fantastic movie. Bit of a drop now. Not a drop, but a genre shift. And we're shifting to the Western genre. And I've got to say, like, the first time I saw this movie, I didn't really understand what all the hype was about it. I just thought it was quite a slow burn Western. But the more I watched it, the more I kind of understood the subtleties in the character the main character, and the reasons why he does what he does in this film. And it's Clint Eastwood's Oscar-winning Unforgiven. Just a insanely incredible movie. Clint's direction on this is gorgeous. The cinematography by Jack Green is absolutely stunning. Like 35mm film doesn't capture the same vision a digital camera will. Written by David Webb Peoples, produced by David Valdez, produced and directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Francis Fisher, Richard Harris. Just, such a good movie. And it's really interesting to watch Clint play a character like Bill Money, because Money? Yeah, Bill Money. I call it, why Mummy? Why did I say Mummy? I have no idea. Who was a notorious outlaw who left the life when he found a woman that he loved. They had a family. Unfortunately, his wife passes away and he's left with the kids. But then he's hired by some prostitutes in a small town to essentially take revenge for what happened to one of their colleagues. I say colleagues, but it's to see a man who once renounced violence and that life subtly fall back into his old ways over the course of the film. It's just it's so well written, and Clint's performance is incredible in it. Hackman is incredible in it. Morgan Freeman's fantastic. It's just like, the more I watch it now, the more I realize that this is probably, in my personal opinion, probably the greatest Western ever made. And I'm a big fan of the Sergio Leone Westerns. I think Once Upon a Time in America is incredible. The Dollars trilogy are... But there's just something about Unforgiven that I absolutely... just captures me every time I watch it. Then going a bit... staying within like the dark era of like the early 90s. And I'm not a massive comic book fan. Well, comic book movie fan. Like, I grew up reading Marvel comics, and I was collecting comics for a long, long time. Spider-Man is my favourite Marvel character. I think it's my favourite... Spider-Man and Batman. So Spider-Man is my favourite Marvel character. Batman is my favourite DC character. I like Spider-Man because he's relatable. He was relatable to me as a teenager. Batman, I like the darkness of a man who's lost everything apart from his money, and basically doesn't have superpowers, but can utilize what he does have as a masked vigilante. Essentially, I look at Batman as a slightly less violent version of Frank Castle's the Punisher, but he wears a mask. However, in 1994, we had this movie from Alex Proyas. This is a movie based on a graphic novel or a comic book written by James O'Barr, and it is The Crow. This is an incredibly gorgeous movie. Like, the 4K on this looks absolutely stunning. But this stands out for multiple things. One, the soundtrack is phenomenal. There are some incredible songs on this soundtrack. Most specifically, Burn by The Cure. What a song, what a track. You also have the gorgeous cinematography, the beautiful practical effects. The atmosphere is just... Oh, it's like if Tim Burton took his style of Batman from 1989 and added more goth and violence to it. Which, I mean, to be fair, the 1989 Batman movie is a pretty violent movie for when it came out. I think this is what you would get. Again, another thing that makes this film stand out is that Brandon Lee's performance in this as Eric Draven it's career defining. Unfortunately, it's also career defining of what happened to him. This is his legacy movie. Happens to be his last film before he was accidentally killed with an improperly loaded handgun on set. But to leave this movie as your final ever movie and be your legacy, but also having this film be a fucking great movie as well, regardless of whether or not Brandon Lee did die on this set. The fact that The Crow is just an incredible film anyway. Just a beautiful, beautiful movie. Just, yeah, I love this film. And, yeah. I think this was on Ollie's as well. So then, going the complete 180 from The Crow, well, from Scream, which is a horror movie, a dark, brooding revenge western with Unforgiven, and the goth awesomeness of The Crow. We do a complete 180 to this movie, which is South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut. This is the movie from 1998. It's a spin-off, as you would obviously know. It's a spin-off. It is a feature-length version of the Comedy Central cartoon series from 1998 as well, I think. This might be 99, actually. I think this was 1999. Yeah, 99. Um, the TV show South Park. South Park became this insane cultural phenomenon when it came out. It was this crappily animated adult animation from these two guys from Colorado, which would be Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who would then go on and basically become the anti-Hollywood like satirists that they are, going on to win multiple multiple. Is it an EGOT? Which is the one? Olivia Awards, I think it was, for the Book of Mormon. Also, they gave us Orgasmo. They gave us Team America. We're on 27 seasons now, I believe, of South Park, and every single episode with a little COVID gap where they weren't. Is so on point with its satire and so on point with how it portrays modern society. And the fact that these two people don't give a fuck is amazing. However, South Park Bigger, Longer, Uncut is a film that I can watch over and over and over and over, and I never get tired of it. I know the soundtrack word for word. I know the script almost word for word. And it's just a fucking funny as hell movie. Trey Parker, Matt Stone, first time commentary as well on this Blu-ray. This is now, I believe this has had a 4K release. I picked this up years ago when I first got a Blu-ray player, and where is it? I can't even remember when I bought this. But I bought this because I knew it was region free, and I didn't have to worry about having a region A player. So I picked this up, and it's so good. The soundtrack itself, written by Trey Parker, and there's someone else who wrote the music with him. Mark Shaman, I believe it is. But yeah, I mean, we were quoting this in work the other day. I love it. Cartman, before the later seasons, Cartman was the greatest TV character of all time. Animated cartoon character of all time. Even better than Homer Simpson. But he's kind of been overtaken now by Randy Marsh. I love South Park the movie. So then, this is going to be on a list that people say is a really bad movie. I disagree. I think this is a massively underrated, sort of misunderstood movie as well. And it's Kevin Costner movie from 1996. 98? I always thought it was 97, to be honest with you. And it's the movie The Postman, which is a post-apocalyptic epic of the American Midwest, if you get what I mean. It's based on a book by David Brin called The Postman, which this, unfortunately, is vastly different to the novel. The novel has a whole thing about like AI that is kind of controlling the world, which mind-bogglingly bonkers. But if you watch this is more like a post-apocalyptic western. Kevin Costner plays a sort of nomad wanderer who goes from settlement to settlement of survivors and does like performances of Shakespeare for food and for lodging for like a night and stuff. But something happens where he gets involuntarily recruited to a militia that kind of has a grip on America as it is. He manages to escape from them. He hides out in the back of an old post truck. He finds a postman's uniform, decides to put it on, and a bag full of letters, and uses the guise of a postman to deliver letters and also get food and a lodging for the night or something. It was essentially a con, but there was something about it that kind of struck hope in the survivors, and it develops this whole sort of following. He makes up this story about there's a new president of the United States by the name of Richard Starkey, which happens to be the name of Ringo Starr, and it's basically a war between this militia that is run by Will Patton's character, General Bethlehem, and Costner's the postman. He doesn't want it to be a war, though. He doesn't want people to do what he's doing. But because of what he did just to be able to get food and shelter, the future then becomes a lot brighter for humanity. I think it's an incredible movie, and I think it's really, really, really like underrated and misunderstood. It's a very long film, but this came hot on the heels of Waterworld, which again was a huge budget epic science fiction post-apocalyptic Kevin Costner movie that kind of, it did make money, but it kind of also flopped. This one was a flop, but I love it, and I watch it maybe once a year. Just a great movie. More post-apocalypse goodness now. Again, this is a film. These next two films are films that like Teenage Pete loved. Teenage Pete loved, and then Adult Pete, who continued watching them from when he was a teenager, still loves and quotes and listens to soundtracks of, and like you'll understand. So this is Tank Girl. Tank Girl was from 1995. It was directed by Rachel Talalay, who would go on and direct a lot of Doctor Who episodes, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head what other movies she's directed, but I know it's quite a lot of good ones. It starred Laurie... No, it didn't. Yes, it did. Laurie Petty. There we go. I've watched this movie a million times. It stars Laurie Petty, Ice-T, Malcolm McDowell, and a very young Naomi Watts in one of her first roles. And it is, again, it's based on a comic book written and illustrated by Gorillaz co-creator Jamie Hewlett. And you can tell by the animation style of the Gorillaz that he was obviously responsible for Tank Girl, because when you look at like images of like graphic comic book versions of Tank Girl, the artwork is very reminiscent of the Gorillaz. He's got a very distinct style. This came out. This was a flop when it came out. It is now a cult classic. I love it. I can watch it no end, and I never get bored of it. And even my brother, who is not a huge fan, I say not a huge fan of movies. He loves movies, but he doesn't really watch a lot of Western movies. He watches a lot of Japanese and Korean and Thai movies and stuff. So he's more into the sort of world cinema. He fucking loves this movie, and I can't blame him, because it is an incredible film. Soundtrack is amazing. It has a lot of the punk and grunge from like the early to mid 90s with like Joan Jett on there, and you've got Hole, you've got, even there's an Ice-T song on there, you've got Devo on there with the best version of Girl You Want. It's just such a great sort of anarchic comic book fun time, if you get what I mean. And Malcolm McDowell is playing the best pantomime villain. It's like he walked in off the set of Star Trek Generations, still in the same costume, with the same hair, doing the same performance. And yeah, it's fucking great. And to make it even better, you've got Stan Winston, practical maker. There is some incredible miniature work done in this film as well, which again, really, really underrated. Fucking love Tank Girl. I'm just gonna have a drink because my mouth's going a bit dry. We have This is going to be a longer video than I thought. We have 8 left. Following on from Tank Girl, another massive flop, and also another one that I absolutely fucking love, and one I talk about a lot, even though it is an incredibly awful movie. But I think that's what the charm is. It kind of does something different. It kind of stands out from this person's filmography. But it's the movie Biodome. This was Teen Pete's Bible in 1996. I love this movie. I quote it on the daily. I love the soundtrack. There are songs on the soundtrack that never got released outside of this soundtrack. And when one of the bands who was on this, called Wax, was asked whether or not they were going to ever release a studio version of a song, cover song, that appears on this, they said that it was only ever recorded for the film and that they no longer have the masters, which really, really sucks because it's a great version of a song. It is basically about these two guys, Bud and Doyle, played by Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin. They are a bunch of stoners, a bunch of slackers who do fuck all with their time. They are dating two sort of eco-friendly... I suppose nowadays they'd be classed as woke, but they are dating two eco-friendly women played by Joey Lauren Adams, and I can't remember who the other one is, but she's not on here. Yeah, can't remember her name. And something happens, and they find themselves at a gigantic enclosure that is meant to be used to sort of simulate habitat on another planet. That's why it's called the Biodome, and it's run by a scientist called Professor Faulkner, played by William Atherton, who you would know from Ghostbusters and Die Hard. He's the television reporter that Bonnie Bedelia's character punches in the face at the end of Die Hard, and also the mayor, I think he's the mayor, or the deputy mayor of New York in Ghostbusters. He plays Dr. Faulkner, who's the guy who's in charge of all this gigantic project, and he has a group of other scientists with it, including, but not limited to, Kylie Minogue. She is in this movie. Don't know why. Just have no idea. But Bud and Doyle find themselves accidentally trapped in the Biodome, and because they are lazy, good-for-nothing, slackers and stoners, they just cause havoc. And it's amazing. I love it. If you've never seen Biodome, see if you can track down this DVD. It's never had a Blu-ray release in the UK. It did have a very short Blu-ray release by Shout Factory in the States, but otherwise, this MGM DVD is your only source of Biodome-ness. Love it. So then we get to 1996. This was a big year for me. I was 13. This was a film I really wanted to see. I saw it in the cinema, and then I saw it 3 more times in the cinema. Because where I used to live, there used to be a cinema about a 3-second walk from my house. I used to be able to walk out my house, walk down the street, and walk into a cinema. It was called the Monroe Theatre, or it was called the Monroe Cinema, and it was essentially where I spent 90% of my time as a teenager. I saw a lot of stuff in the 90s in there, from this movie, Titanic, Spice World, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Lost in Space, Mission Impossible, 101 Dalmatians, what else? Jurassic Park. I saw kids films, Oliver and Company in the 1980s, the My Little Pony movie in the 1980s as well, the one with The Secret of the Ooze, which is the subtitle of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I saw Up and Under, which was a rugby comedy from the UK. What else did I saw so much in that cinema, and it was amazing. It's now a live music venue, which is also really, really cool. And they have some really great bands there. But I saw this there. I saw this movie 3 times in the cinema, in the Monroe Theatre. And then I had the VHS for Easter as an Easter present, and it had the lenticular like card on the sleeve of the VHS. Then I bought the 2-disc DVD. Then I bought the 1-disc Blu-ray, and then the 2-disc Blu-ray. And I will be at some point, hopefully, fingers crossed, picking it up on 4K. But it's Independence Day, Roland Emmerich's sort of homage to the 1950s alien invasion movies, but on one of the biggest fucking scales known to man. This movie is huge. The fact that this made so much money just blows my mind. That's not to say that it's a shit film, it's not. But it is B-movie gorgeousness on an A scale budget, and I love it. And I can watch this movie this is sort of like a go-to, like, I can't think of anything else to watch. Fuck it, let's just put Independence Day on. It's got an incredible score by David Arnold, who did this as a follow-up to Emmerich's previous movie, which was Stargate, which also has another phenomenal score by David Arnold. But Arnold's score on this just really kind of makes that movie, a lot like a John Williams score makes a lot of the Star Wars work, or makes a lot of Spielberg's movies work. Like David Arnold's score in Independence Day is perfect, and it works so well with the rest of the story. Sure, there's some cheese in it. It's a homage to 1950s sci-fi invasion movies, but it is so unbelievably endlessly watchable that, like, I love it. I literally love it. It's probably my top 10 movies of all time, and yeah, Independence Day, what a goddamn movie. Call out and Close Encounter, welcome to Earth. Talking a lot. Then we have back to the horror, I guess, that you could say this is a horror movie. This is the first Evil Dead movie that I ever saw. And I know what you're thinking. Hang on, Evil Dead was made in the 1980s. No, Evil Dead 3, Army of Motherfucking Darkness. Army of Darkness was made in 1992. 92? And it was the first Evil Dead movie that I ever saw. This was my introduction to Ash and the world of the Deadites. I hadn't seen Evil Dead 2 or the first Evil Dead prior to watching this, and I had the old VHS, which had the other artwork. This is the sort of parody of the Vacation artwork. Love this movie. I took this to school one year. I took this to high school one year when we were allowed to bring in a movie or something to show to a class. And I took in Army of Darkness to a bunch of 15-year-olds who had never... it was like the 90s, man. No one, apart from movie nerds, the rest of the kids in school were just either sports kids or like moshers. They weren't movie nerds. I was a bit of a mosher. Bit more of a skater boy when I was in school, but I was massively into movies. So no one really knew what the fuck Army of Darkness was. So we put it on, and then it opens, and you hear rumblings of like, oh, is this a fucking historical movie? And then it does the sort of the bit with the pit, and then all the blood gushes out of the pit, and it carries on with the, you want some? You want some? Your shoelaces are untied. Yeah, I love this movie. This is not a horror film by any stretch of the imagination. This is a slapstick comedy which has funny puppet skeletons in it and a two-headed Ash zombie. Yeah, I love Army of Darkness. This is the Screwhead edition. I've had this for years. I don't know if this is on 4K. It might be on 4K. I'm not sure. But yeah, I love this movie. That's why it's in this pile. I'm just going to pause for a sec because I need to do something. So we've only got 5 movies left now. This next one is James Cameron movie from the 90s. One of 3 studio pictures that he did, and possibly the greatest sci-fi action movie of all time. and the greatest action movie of all time, better than Die Hard, and I love Die Hard. But it's Terminator 2. Come on, who doesn't like T2 Judgment Day? This film is fucking amazing. Just literally amazing. I remember watching this for the first time, and it blew my mind. I hadn't seen Terminator 1 by the point when I'd seen this. So I didn't really have a frame of reference for who John Connor and Sarah Connor were, Dr. Silverman, and why Arnold Schwarzenegger was a robot. But this sort of kind of gives you a bit of a recap, in a way, I guess. But the opening in the bar where he's like, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Yeah. And the guy is like, I can't let you take the guy's bike, son. And he just grabs the shotgun and puts the sunglasses on. Like, the action in this film is phenomenal. The way that it's filmed, I don't know how Cameron filmed it, but it has this atmospheric feel to it. Like, everything feels technical. I think it might be because of, like, a lot of it is shot with, like, a blue hue to it at night, which is why it's so really well lit at night. Which is the same can be said for the first Terminator. One thing, like, I say one thing that James Cameron knows how to do. A lot of things James Cameron knows how to do. I mean, his movies always bet on Cameron, basically. One thing he really does know more than anything is how to light a dark scene. Like, Terminator 1 has the chase tunnel. The tunnel chase, sorry, not the chase tunnel. The tunnel chase, which is gorgeously lit. And this, every single scene is lit just, perfectly. And you also, like, it's Terminator 2. I'm not even going to go deep dive into this. But Terminator 2, it's phenomenal. It is. And I think, personally, I think it's probably the best action film of all time. I don't think anything's ever going to come close. The stunt work in this, the helicopter work that they did in the chase at the end, well, towards the end, phenomenal. Schwarzenegger's performance, like, everyone talks about how Arnold's not a great actor. He's perfect in this movie. He is just, in fact, I'd say he's better as the good Terminator than he was as the original evil Terminator. But Terminator 2, like, oh, yeah. Also, I love Terminator 1, but obviously this is a 90s movie video, not a 80s movie video. And if I do an 80s one, Terminator will most likely be on that list. But that's going to be a very hard list to nail down. Moving swiftly on, we have Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, you're probably thinking, The Phantom Menace sucks. It doesn't. It really doesn't. It has that Lucas aesthetic. That's what's missing from Disney Star Wars, is the fact that there is no George Lucas fingerprint on those films or TV series. The closest I think anyone has ever got to having that same sort of feel as the Lucas era of Star Wars is probably the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. Don't get me wrong, Andor is the best thing that Disney has done. Andor and Rogue One are the best Star Wars that Disney has done. But they don't feel like George Lucas Star Wars. Whereas the first 2 Mandalorian series, they feel like George Lucas's stamp is on them. But this is not only it's the start of an epic saga. Like, we find out the origins of Darth Vader, and we follow it through Phantom Menace, through Attack of the Clones, and eventually the Rise of Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith, which is in my top 10 list of best films of the early 2010s, well, the early 2000s. The reason I've chosen this is because I do really enjoy this film. I enjoy this film quite a lot, but it was also the first Star Wars film that I ever saw in the cinema. I didn't see the re-releases of the original trilogy in 1997. I only saw this, and I saw all three prequel films at the cinema, and it was like I grew up as a massive Star Wars fan. I had all the Star Wars toys. I've got a bag. There is a bag, literally, I'm pointing at the bag, that has original Star Wars figures from like 1980s in it at the moment. In fact, let me see if I can find you some. Well, unfortunately, I was sadly mistaken. I apparently no longer have the original Star Wars films, Star Wars figures. Unless they're in a box. They might be in a box. However, I did find an original. I believe this is an original. Maybe not. Maybe. Emperor Palpatine from Return of the Jedi? I think it was Return of the Jedi. There is a horrendously discoloured Princess Leia. A Hoth Luke Skywalker. A Empire Strikes Back, I believe this is Empire Strikes Back, an Empire Strikes Back Han Solo. A very tiny Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. This guy, Boba Fett. And a suspiciously naked Darth Vader. There are a few others in the bag, but those are the ones. But yeah, so this was the first. This was the first Star Wars film that I ever saw in the cinema, and like I said, I really like this film, and yeah, it's Star Wars, man. Star Wars fucking rules. Right, we've only got 3 left of these 15, and then I'll let you all go. You can go about your business. So then, along with like the silliness of Tank Girl and Biodome, like I was introduced to this filmmaker through this film. It's not his first film; it's his second film. The first film he made is a movie called Clerks, and I saw that a lot later than Mallrats. Mallrats, for me, again, when I first saw it, I was at an age where this type of movie was like aimed at sort of my age demographic. I mean, even though it's technically an R rating and it was an 18 on when it was released in the UK, it's sort of really aimed at teenagers, kids who hang out at the mall, skaters, punks, the sort of outcasts, which I kind of was as a kid or as a teen. And seeing this, my introduction to Jay and Silent Bob, Jason Lee, who then I started following because of his skateboarding career prior to that, and then obviously My Name is Earl. This movie, I love Mallrats. And it's free, by the way, the 4K, because it's a region A. Well, it's an American release, and CEX does not buy American releases, so this was either going to go in the bin or go on my shelf. So I was like, it's going on my shelf. So Mallrats, like, introduced me to Jason Lee, Jay and Silent Bob, Kevin Smith's View Askew, which then led to obviously Chasing Amy, discovering Clerks, Clerks 2, Jersey Girl, and just whatever else came out from Kevin Smith at the time. I mean, his sort of film output has gone a bit shit lately. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of like quotable lines in this. Where do you get those lovely gadgets? I'm saying a lot because I haven't really written anything. I decided just to write this. But it's got Michael Rooker in it. It's got Stan Lee in it. It's got Jason Lee, Kevin Smith, Ben Affleck is in this. It's got the guy who plays Dante from Clerks in it. It's just a lot of fun. Mr. Mallrats, a tribute to Jim Jacks. And there's a lot of references to other Kevin Smith movies. Well, I say there's a lot of references to Clerks in there, but then there's a lot of references in other Kevin Smith movies to the stuff that has happened prior. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. I do have the other blue. I have the UK blue of this as well, by the way. But I had to crouch down So then we've got two left. This film, right, so the choice was, do I choose all three of his 90s movies, or do I just choose one? Now, for this video, I've only chosen one. However, across the two parts, there are two of his movies. This film basically informed my entire being when it comes to movies. It was Reservoir Dogs. I can tell you this film made me want to be a writer. This film made me want to be a filmmaker. This film made me want to write crime movies. It got me into crime cinema. It got me into exploitation cinema, into kung fu cinema, into you fucking name it. This movie is responsible for my filmography, not my filmography, my film journey as a movie nerd, and that's thanks to Reservoir Dogs and Quentin Tarantino's just obsessive nature when it comes to cinema. Because of that, this movie earns a spot as like the top, one of the top 10 films, or one of the top movies of the 90s. It's such a good film, and I've read the script as well. I read the original draft, and I read the shooting script, because they're both available online. And the start of the script, it has sort of a bit that says this film is dedicated to, and it dedicates a load of films from different filmmakers from like Hong Kong, France, like classic American cinema, like the new wave of cinema, New Hollywood, like Easy Rider and Five Easy Pieces and those type of movies. And it was because of that I ended up buying a book, which was the Tarantino A to Z. And I read this book, and this book basically, it wasn't really about Tarantino. It was more about like the movies that influenced him. And so I would write down reference notes and then lists, and I would find more and more movies. This is why I've got such a massive DVD and Blu-ray collection, is because essentially this movie. So that's why Reservoir Dogs is on that, on this countdown. And as this is nearly 50 minutes long, I'm going to end it with Hackers from 1995, starring Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Fisher Stevens, Lorraine Bracco, Lawrence Mason, and Jesus Christ, he's literally everywhere at the moment. Matthew Lillard, there we go. He's right there. Matthew Lillard, who plays Serial. Again, like Biodome, like Tank Girl, this movie was a flop when it came out. I love this movie. Again, it has an incredible 90s soundtrack that features like The Prodigy and stuff on it. I find it endlessly watchable. Angelina Jolie is stunning in this movie. Just great. And again, this is sort of like another movie that was quite important to me as a teenager, because it kind of informed my fashion sense as well. I mean, they had like, I used to wear a chain on like baggy combats when I was a skater, a big hoodie. I mean, apart from the chain, I pretty much still dress the fucking same. But yeah, this movie, like, I can watch this movie whenever. I watched it earlier this year. In fact, I watched it earlier this year, and it was the first time I'd watched it on Blu-ray. I'd only watched it on DVD prior to that. So this is the first time watching Hackers in high definition. Johnny Lee Miller plays Dade Murphy, who, when he was a child, was arrested for hacking a bank, causing a financial crash, and told not to use a PC until the day. He wasn't allowed to use a PC again until the day of his 18th birthday. On the day of his 18th birthday, he hacks into a television studio and gets booted out of the studio by a rival hacker known as Acid Burn. And it turns out that Acid Burn is a hacker played by Angelina Jolie, and they go to the same school. Then something happens. They find that they're getting framed for the sinking of a ship, which is actually the head of cybersecurity for a big company called Ellison Oil something, I think it was. And the villain is played by Fisher Stevens. He goes by the name of The Plague. It's a bonkers movie. It makes no fucking sense from a technical point of view, but it's so much fun. It's, again, like I said, it was quite pivotal in how I kind of presented myself in the 90s. I was really into skateboarding. I was into punk rock. I was into like the Prodigy and stuff like that. And yeah, it was all because of these movies. A lot of movies, I find myself I found that I gravitated a lot to that kind of aesthetic of the 90s. I was very much an outcast when I was a teenager. I didn't have a huge amount of friends because I kept to myself. And the problem is I don't like people. And this has nothing to do with people that I'm friends with, that I am acquaintances with. These people are fine. I don't like crowds. I don't like being around people that I don't know, which is weird because I've worked in retail for 25 years. But it's still, I don't go to live music because I don't know whether or not it's social anxiety, or maybe I have a touch of autism. Who knows? I've never been diagnosed, but I'm not going to research that shit. I just don't like being around people, which is why I spend a lot of my time in this room by myself, and I watch a lot of movies, and I kind of lose myself in movies. I'm 42 now, and I've been watching movies since I was, well, my earliest memory is Star Wars, and that was from being very, very, very young, like 3, 4 maybe. That's as far back as I can sort of recall. And I remember a lot of 80s movies that I watched as a kid that I ended up finding again years down the line, or films that were always available that I watched as in the 80s as a kid. But Hackers, so it was like Hackers and Biodome were sort of the films that kind of informed who I was and who I am. So that's why I love these movies so much. So there we go. That's 15 movies. That's 15 movies in 52 minutes. Sorry, this video was going to be a hell of a lot shorter than that, but I waffled. I tend to waffle a lot when I want to talk about movies. So if you guys really enjoy this movie, it's because I've said the word movie like a billion times. If you guys really enjoyed this video and you like listening to me talk about films, I will come back more often. I will start posting more content, but I will do it focusing only on the films, not on the physical aspect of it. Because let's face it, there's only so much content you can do when it comes to physical media. That's all covered. Everybody sort of has the same sort of video. Here's what I bought this week. I bought this. I bought this. I bought this. And then I bought this. Or it's, here's my review of this 4K that I paid money for, or didn't, because I was sent it as a review copy. It looks shit. This one looks good. Why does the Blu-ray look better than the 4K? Why does the DVD look better than the VHS? Blah, 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 blah. It's all done. Everyone does it. I'm not going to do weekly watches because, to be honest with you, sometimes there's a week where I won't even watch a fucking movie. I'll just sit down. If I find a TV show, like last week, I watched all of the Night Agent. It was great. I enjoyed it. Then this week, literally this morning, I watched Vantage Point on Tubi. That is my Alexa being a knob. So I'm probably going to focus on just movies because that is what I like to do, and that is what I like to talk about. I used to review movies. I still review movies now and then, where I would write pages and pages and pages about cinema, but it's not even like cinema. It's the shit movies that I enjoy. So if you guys really want to listen to me waffle on about movies and stuff, just give me a thumbs up and like this. leave a comment if you want. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Threads. On where else are we? Facebook. Here on YouTube. Letterboxd is probably the best one because I'm on Letterboxd every day. Yeah, I'm everywhere. So yeah, my name is Pedro. This is part 1 of my favourite movies from the 90s. There will be a part 2 where I will go over the remaining 15 titles, which I can't remember what they are. I'm looking around for my phone then and realise I'm recording it on my phone here. Now, I'm getting a new phone as well today. Hopefully it should arrive. They've been trying to deliver it for the last 3 days. And I couldn't find my fucking address. So this lovely little phone device will be retiring after this video because the new one shall be taking over. It's a Galaxy... No, it's not. It's a Pixel 10. Yeah. Google Pixel 10. So it has a better camera. Yeah. So, as I said, my name is Pedro. This is Pedro's Movie Cavern. I'm at Pedro's Movie Desk. I'll see you all on the next one. Thanks for watching, and cheers for the support as well. So, give you a salute, throw up the peace sign, and tell you that I'm out. Cheers, everyone. Have a great one.